My husband led a double life for 4 months. While I was raising our baby alone, he flew to his mistress and emptied our accounts. $20,000, gone. And when I found out the truth, it only got worse. Because this wasn't his first betrayal. I'm 27 years old, and my husband's name is Alex. He's 31. Or rather, he was. Now, as I write these lines at 3 in the morning, sitting on the floor of my parents' room with a 3-month-old son in my arms, I find it hard to call him my husband. Yes, technically we're still married, but the man I've loved for the past 7 years turned out to be completely different. Now it all seems like a cruel joke. Once, I thought this was the beginning of the most peaceful and happiest chapter of my life. Now I realize that back then, I simply didn't notice the warning signs because I was in love and believed in the image of the perfect husband that Alex so carefully created. We met almost 7 years ago when I was 20. At the time, I was working at a small coffee shop called Bean and Leaf near an office building in downtown Raleigh. It was a typical student job. I was in my final year of college studying to be a teacher and trying to pay for it myself, not wanting to burden my parents too much. He came every morning at exactly 8:15, as if he had an internal alarm clock. He always ordered the same thing, a cappuccino without sugar and a croissant with almond butter. I remembered his order the second time I tried it. At first, he simply sat at his favorite table by the large picture window, working on his laptop. Headphones in, a serious face, total concentration. A typical office worker in a business suit. But after about a week, I noticed that when I brought him his order, he put his headphones away and smiled. Not just a polite nod, but a genuine, warm smile, so genuine that crinkles appeared at the corners of his eyes. "Thank you," he said every time. "You make the best cappuccino in town." I was embarrassed and joked that it was the coffee machine's fault, not mine. The following months were like something out of a romantic movie. Alex courted me beautifully and constantly. He'd bring me coffee right to my home on weekends. He'd wake up early, drive to our coffee shop, buy my favorite caramel latte and croissants, and come over around 9 in the morning. He'd write long messages in the evenings, sometimes just asking how my day was, sometimes sharing his thoughts, dreams, even fears. A year later, we moved into his 1-bedroom apartment. It was larger than mine, in a good neighborhood, with a view of the park. I remember the day I brought my things. Alex cleared out half the closet, bought new shelves for my books, and even put a special basket in the bathroom for my cosmetics. "This is our home now," he said, hugging me from behind as I put my books away. "Everything is ours." We cooked dinners together, watched TV shows in the evenings, and took little weekend trips. Life seemed perfect. 2 years later, on my 23rd birthday, Alex proposed. He organized a trip to the North Carolina coast, saying it was just a romantic weekend. We were walking along the beach at sunset, and suddenly he stopped, took my hands, and dropped to one knee in the sand. "I knew from that first morning in the coffee shop that you were the one," he said, his voice trembling. "You make every day better for me simply by existing. I want to wake up next to you every morning for the rest of my life. Will you marry me?" I cried and nodded, unable to utter a word. The ring was simple but beautiful, silver, with a small diamond. He later admitted he'd been saving for it for 6 months. His parents welcomed me warmly from the very beginning. His mother, Carol, a plump, energetic woman with kind eyes, immediately started calling me daughter. She constantly invited me to family dinners at their large house in the suburbs, taught me how to bake her signature apple pie, and told me family stories. "I'm so glad Alex has finally settled down," she said, hugging me. "He's dated a lot of girls, but you're the first one he's been serious with. You're special." His father, Robert, was more reserved, a tall, graying man with a military bearing. He worked as an engineer his entire life and demanded a lot of Alex as a child. But with me, he was always polite and respectful, although he kept a certain distance. My parents, on the other hand, were initially wary of Alex. My mother said to me in the kitchen the first time he came over for dinner, "He's too perfect. There's no such thing. Everyone has flaws." My father scrutinized me closely, asking questions about his work, his plans, how he planned to provide for his family. But over time, they too came to love Alex. He always helped around the house when he visited, fixing the faucet in the kitchen, helping my father with the car, offering to help my mother with the garden. He knew how to make an impression. He knew how to be what was expected of him. Now I realize it was another skill in his arsenal. We got married in the spring when I was 24. The wedding was small, about 50 people, just close friends and family. We didn't want anything lavish, just an honest celebration with those we love. The vows we made to each other seemed sacred. For better or for worse, for richer or for poorer, in sickness and in health. How cruel those words sound now. The first year of marriage was happy. We rented a small house in the suburbs, the very one where I thought I'd spend the rest of my life. We began to settle in, to build a life together. By then, I'd already graduated and found work as an assistant at an elementary school. Alex continued working at a logistics company. He'd been promoted to senior manager. We talked a lot about children. We both wanted a large family. Alex dreamed of a son to play baseball with, and I dreamed of a daughter whose hair I'd braid. "Let's give it a try," Alex said one evening. "Let's start trying." And we did. 14 months later, I woke up feeling nauseous. At first, I thought I'd had food poisoning, but the nausea persisted for several days in a row. I bought a test almost without hope, just to rule it out before going to the doctor, and then I saw 2 lines. I didn't believe it. I took 3 more tests. They all showed the same thing. When Alex came home from work, I silently handed him the test. He looked at it for a few seconds, uncomprehending. Then his face changed. Is this really?" His voice broke. I nodded. Alex grabbed me in his arms and spun me around, then abruptly dropped me, afraid he might hurt me. "Oh God, I'm so sorry, He looked at me, confused, then hugged me again, this time tenderly. "This is the best day of my life." The pregnancy was difficult from the very beginning. The morning sickness was severe. I was so sick in the mornings that I couldn't eat anything. I lost weight in the first 2 months, and the doctors were worried. I slept poorly, constantly worried about the baby's health. Every scan was stressful for me. I was afraid to hear that something was wrong. But at first, Alex was with me through everything. Labor started 2 weeks early, in the middle of the night. I woke up to a sharp pain in my lower abdomen and sensed something was wrong. I woke Alex. He jumped up as if scalded, rushing around the room, gathering his things. The contractions came one after another. At first, every 10 minutes, then every 5, then without a break. Another hour of hell, and finally I heard a cry. A loud, indignant cry of new life. "A boy," the midwife said, lifting the little red bundle. A healthy boy. Alex stood next to me, tears streaming down his face. When they let him hold his son for the first time, he held him so carefully, as if he were afraid he'd break him. The first weeks after the birth were a blur. Constant screaming at night, endless fatigue, lack of sleep that turned the days into one continuous blur. I barely slept. I fed every 2 or 3 hours. I changed diapers. I rocked him. I fed him again. I rocked him again. My incision hurt from the tears. My breasts ached from feeding. My whole body ached from fatigue. I turned into a zombie functioning on autopilot. Alex helped at first. He got up a couple of times a night when our son cried. He carried him in his arms while I tried to get some sleep, but it was obvious he was struggling. He was just entering a stressful period at work, a big project, deadlines, lots of meetings. He would come home exhausted, collapse on the couch and say, "I can't take it anymore. I'm so exhausted this day." Sometimes, when my son cried at night, Alex would groan and cover his head with a pillow and pretend to sleep. I knew it was hard for him too. But I kept quiet. I thought it was like that for all new parents, that it was temporary. Our conversations gradually boiled down to the same thing. When was the last time you fed him? Did you change his diaper? I need to buy more wipes. The pediatrician's appointment is on Thursday. We were no longer husband and wife. We became cohabitants, sharing the same parenting duties. There was almost no intimacy, physical, emotional, nothing. I was constantly tired, irritable, and often cried from exhaustion. Sometimes I'd sit on the bathroom floor with the shower running to drown out the sound of my sobs. My body had changed. My stomach was distended, stretch marks, breasts that seemed ugly to me, dark circles under my eyes. I felt unattractive, broken. When Alex tried to initiate intimacy, I pulled away. I just couldn't. I felt no desire. I only felt tired and empty. At first, Alex tolerated it. He said he understood, that he would give me time. But then he began to get increasingly irritated. If my son cried for a long time in the middle of the night, he would sigh with irritation and say, "How long can this go on? What does he want?" As if I could control it, as if babies cry on a schedule. Sometimes he would simply get up and go into another room, closing the door. I was left alone with a crying child and felt abandoned. 3 months passed after the birth. Alex began staying late at work more and more often. First, for half an hour, then for an hour, then for 2 or 3. He'd call and say, "Sorry, honey, I'm late. I need to finish a report." Or, "The boss asked me to stay for a meeting. I'll be back later." Or simply, "At least it's quiet there. Give me another hour." That last sentence hit hard. He preferred the office to home, the quiet of the office. I'm crying for my son. When he came home, he'd immediately bury his head in his phone. He'd sit on the couch, mindlessly scrolling through his news feed, while I'd fuss over the baby. 4 months after our son was born, Alex told me he'd started traveling. "A new project," he explained. "I need to meet with clients in other cities." I tried to refuse, but the boss insisted. The first business trip was for 2 days to Atlanta. He left Thursday morning and returned Saturday evening. I was left alone with a baby. 2 nights without a single minute of help. I hardly slept at all. By Saturday, I'd turned into a zombie. When Alex returned, he looked rested. "How was your trip?" I asked, rocking my son. "Fine. Tired, of course. Meetings, negotiations." But he didn't look tired. He looked fresh. His eyes didn't show the exhaustion I'd seen in the mirror. The next business trip was in 2 weeks, then another week, then they became almost weekly. "It's temporary," Alex said. "The project should be over in a couple of months." But the project never ended. And Alex was traveling more and more often. I began to notice that Alex had changed, and not just about business trips. His phone had become his second hand. A third, if you count the fact that he always had one hand in his pocket. Before, he'd easily left his phone anywhere. On the table, on the couch, in the car. Now he always had his phone with him, always face down, always on silent. If I approached him while he was reading something, he'd quickly close the screen. "What are you looking at?" I'd ask innocently. "Just my work email." But I could tell it was Messenger, not email. He started taking his phone with him to the bathroom, to the shower, even when he took out the trash. One day, I asked, "Can I have your phone? Mine's dead, and I need to call Mom." He hesitated for a second. Yeah, sure." He held it out, but I saw him quickly do something before handing it to me. He must have closed the apps. When I dialed Mom's number and was talking, he was standing next to me. He didn't move away. He was watching. I sensed something was wrong, but I tried not to worry about it. I told myself it was just paranoia from lack of sleep and postpartum depression. It happened late on a Wednesday night. My son finally fell asleep after an hour of rocking him. I put him in his crib, covered him with a blanket, and walked out into the living room, feeling completely drained. Alex was standing on the balcony, talking on the phone. His voice was quiet, almost a whisper. The balcony door was closed. His smartphone was on the couch. I wasn't going to watch. Honestly, I just wanted to lie down next to him and get some rest. But then the screen suddenly lit up. A message had arrived. I caught the text out of the corner of my eye. Then I read it. Then I reread it, not believing my eyes. I felt so good with you yesterday. I miss you already. The contact was signed simply, Lily. My heart sank, dropping somewhere in my stomach. For a few seconds, I just sat there, staring at the screen, unable to breathe. Thoughts swirled in my head, one more terrifying than the next. Maybe it's a colleague. Maybe it's some kind of joke. Maybe I misunderstood. Yesterday? He was on a business trip yesterday. He only got back this morning. Maybe, but the little heart at the end. Miss you. Something inside me tightened painfully. I heard the door to the balcony open. Alex walked in, shoving his phone into his pocket. He looked at me. Something wrong? His voice was calm, familiar. I forced myself to speak evenly, though my hands were shaking. Who is Lily? He didn't even glance at his phone on the couch. He answered too quickly, too smoothly. A colleague from work. Why? And he immediately started talking about some report he urgently needed to finish. About a meeting the following morning. About his boss demanding results. He didn't look me in the eye once. I barely slept that night. I lay next to Alex, who was snoring peacefully, his back to me, and stared at the ceiling. The last few months replayed in my head. His delays at work, which were getting longer and longer. His irritation at home. His detachment. Business trips. So many business trips. He'd never been sent on business trips before. A picture I really didn't want to see, but it was too clear to ignore. The next day, when Alex left for work early, he said he had an important meeting, I decided to access his phone for the first time in my life. I picked up my smartphone. I entered the code I'd known since our wedding, the date of our first meeting, 0808. The code worked. He didn't even change it. I logged into my messengers, the usual chats at first. Messages with friends, colleagues, parents. Everything was fine. Then I accidentally swiped left and saw a section I didn't even know existed. Archived chats. I clicked. There was one conversation. Lily. Most of the messages had been deleted. Only fragments from the last couple of days remained. Lily. I can't stop thinking about you. Alex. Me too. Yesterday was incredible. Lily. When will I see you again? Alex. Friday. I'll tell them at home I'm going to Charlotte for a meeting. Lily. I miss you already. I sat there, staring at the screen, unable to breathe. Tears streamed down my face, but I kept scrolling. There were photos. Alex's selfie in the hotel bathroom mirror, smiling, his eyes sparkling. A photo of them together in a restaurant. They were holding hands over the table. A close-up of her smile. Beautiful, young, well-groomed. No dark circles under her eyes. No fatigue. Then I remembered about finances. I logged into my banking app and started scrolling through my statements. At first, there were small expenses, dinners, coffee shops, flowers. Then the amounts got bigger. Hotels. Expensive hotels in Atlanta, Charlotte, Richmond. Airplane tickets for two. High-end restaurants. A jewelry store. An $800 purchase. I'd never received jewelry from him since our wedding. I added it up in my head. Over $15,000 in the last 3 months alone. Our savings. Money we were putting aside for our child's future, for his education, for his first tooth, his first bike, his first day of school. They all went to their mistress. I cried, covering my mouth with my hand so as not to wake my son. All the e-tickets and hotel reservations were there. I checked the dates against his business trips. Every single one, matched, completely. When Alex returned home that evening, I was already sitting on the couch with his phone in my hand. He walked in, smiling, with a bag of takeout. "Hi, honey. I bought Chinese food thinking—" He fell silent when he saw my face. He saw the phone in my hands. My smile faded. What are you doing?" My voice grew tense. I didn't even know where to begin. There were so many words, but they all got stuck in my throat. I simply turned the phone so the screen was facing him. There was a photo open, him and her at a restaurant. A few seconds of silence. Then he tried. "It's not what you think." "Don't you dare," his voice sounded alien, cold. "Don't you dare lie to me. Not now." He pretended not to understand what I was talking about. "It's just a colleague. We had dinner after the meeting. It's normal." I opened the conversation. I began reading aloud. "With you, I feel like a man again. Needed. Desired." "Is this also work email?" Silence. I opened the bank statement. "The Ritz in Atlanta for 3 nights. $4,000. Is this also a work expense?" Silence. "Answer me!" I screamed so loudly that my son woke up in the next room and started crying. Alex sat down across from me. He lowered his head. "I'm so sorry." My voice trembled. "It was so hard for me. After the birth of our child, everything changed. You changed. I gave birth to your child," I screamed through my tears. "I was torn apart giving birth to your son. I didn't sleep for months. I carried it all alone while you fucked with your mistress in expensive hotels. I didn't want to. It just happened," he cried harder. "It was so hard at home, the constant yelling. You're always angry. We don't talk. I felt unwanted." "And did you think, how would I?" I moved closer. "Did you think it was easy for me? Alone? Without your help? You'd disappear for days while I was torn apart." "How long has this been going on?" Silence. "How long?" 4 months, he whispered. 4 months. Practically since our son was born. While I was getting my perineum stitched up after the birth, he was already flirting with her. While I was breastfeeding our newborn every 2 hours, he was making plans to see his mistress. While I was crying from helplessness and postpartum depression, he felt alive with another woman. "Go away," I said quietly. "What?" "Pack your things and go, now. Listen, let's talk. I can fix everything. I'll stop being with her. I promise." "Go away!" I screamed. "Right now!" He tried to argue, then he begged. Then he got angry, saying I was exaggerating, that it was just a mistake. Finally, he slammed the door and left. I was left alone, with a crying baby in my arms, and feeling like my whole life had fallen apart in one evening. 2 days had passed since I kicked Alex out. 2 days of complete silence from him. He didn't write, didn't call, didn't show up. It was as if he'd simply vanished. I barely slept. I automatically fed my son, changed his diapers, rocked him. Everything was on autopilot. There was emptiness inside. Sometimes I caught myself wishing I could wake up and realize it had all been a nightmare. And then I got a message on Instagram from an unfamiliar account. "Hi. Are you Alex's wife?" The profile was private. The profile picture was a blurry photo of nature. My fingers went cold. I hesitated for a long time. I sat there staring at the screen. Then I wrote, "Yes." The reply came almost immediately. A huge message. "I'm so embarrassed to write to you. I don't know where to start. My name is Lily. You probably already know who I am. I'm so ashamed. I have to apologize. I didn't know you were still together. Alex told me you were almost divorced, that you only shared an apartment for the sake of the child, that there hasn't been anything between you for a long time." I read it and couldn't believe it. He lied to her. He lied to me. He lied to everyone. The messages kept coming. He said you don't love him. that you only keep him around for the money and the child, that you were cold and controlling his every move. I believed him. I thought I was helping someone escape a toxic relationship. We met at a party at his friend's 4 months ago. He was charming and attentive. He told me he was going through a difficult time in his life, that his marriage was broken, that he was waiting for the right moment to move out. At first, I didn't want to get involved with a man who was still technically married, but he insisted it was just a formality, that he'd made up his mind long ago. She sent screenshots of their messages. I begged him to spend more time with his son. I begged him to help me, and he painted a picture of me as a manipulative psychopath and him as a victim. I feel trapped, financially dependent on the situation. I want to leave, but I'm afraid she'll sue for everything and won't let me see my child. Another lie. I never threatened him. I never said anything like that. Lily continued. He promised me he'd leave soon. He said he was waiting for the right moment, that he wanted to do everything right, to minimize the trauma for the child. He wrote that he dreamed of waking up next to me every morning and never returning to that hell again. There were voicemails attached to the message. I played one. I heard a young woman's voice, trembling with tears. I feel like a complete fool. I believed him. I thought I was saving him from an unhappy marriage, and in the end, I just destroyed the family. He has a child, my God, a 3-month-old, and I sat and cried, listening to these messages. 2 women, both deceived by the same man. After talking with Lily, I got the idea to check my finances more thoroughly. I logged into all our bank accounts, joint accounts, savings accounts, credit cards, and I discovered a real nightmare. While I was skimping on everything, trying to put aside at least a little money, while I was denying myself new clothes, haircuts, even decent cosmetics, because I need to think about the child's future, he was blowing all our savings on an affair with his mistress. I called Alex. My hands were shaking with rage. He answered on the 5th ring. Hello? Where did the money go? I didn't even say hello. What are you talking about? 12,000 from the joint account, 20,000 from the savings account, 23,000 in credit cards. Where? Silence. You spent it all on her? I screamed into the phone. All our savings? Money for our son's future? Those are business expenses. I was going to... Don't you dare! I saw the statements. Ritz-Carlton, business expenses, jewelry stores, women's clothing. Silence. Then a quiet voice. I wanted to impress her. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. You got into debt for your mistress? While your son needed diapers, you bought her jewelry? I don't care about your apologies. I need the money. Our money. For life. For the baby. I don't have it now. Where is it? I spent... On what? On hotels and restaurants, I know. And what else? I borrowed from friends. To cover expenses. I thought I'd get a bonus soon and pay him back. He borrowed money. To spend on his mistress. He basically destroyed our finances for a 4-month affair. I hung up and just sat in silence. I had no money. None. $300 in the account. Debts. A baby in my arms. And a husband who chose his mistress over his family. Update 1. A week had passed since I kicked Alex out. He texted me several times. I need to pick up my things. We need to talk. I know you're angry, but let's try to resolve this like adults. I ignored all the messages. And then, late Friday night, just as I'd put my son to bed, the doorbell rang. Persistent. Long. I looked through the peephole and saw Alex. He looked terrible. Unshaven. Wrinkled shirt. Red eyes. Open up, he said. Please. Go away. I need to talk to you. Open the door. There was something strange in his voice. He spoke slightly slurred. He was drunk. You're drunk. Leave before I call the police. I just want to talk. His voice rose. This is my house. Not anymore. Open the door. He started pounding on the door with his fists. I stepped back, grabbing the phone. "Alex, leave immediately or I'm calling the cops. I want to see my son. You have no right to stop me. You're drunk. It's 2 in the morning. You won't see anyone now." He kept knocking, louder, more aggressively. My son woke up and started crying in the next room. "Do you see?" I screamed. "You wake up your son. Satisfied?" I dialed my father's number. He answered on the second ring. "Hello? What happened?" "Dad, Alex is here. He's drunk. He's knocking on the door. I'm scared. Don't open the door. I'm on my way." Alex overheard my conversation. "You're calling Daddy?" He laughed. "You always running to Mommy and Daddy." Then his voice changed, became plaintive. "Open the door. Please. I just want to talk. I miss you so much. I miss you. My son." My father arrived 15 minutes later. I heard his voice in the hallway. "Alex, leave. Now. This is my home. My family. You're drunk and aggressive. Leave now before I call the police. I want to see my son." "In this state?" "Never." I heard the sounds of a struggle. Then footsteps. My father knocked. "It's me. He's gone. Open up." I opened the door. Dad came in and hugged me. "Pack your things," he said. "You and the baby are moving in with us. It's not safe here." That night, I packed the bare essentials and went to my parents' place. From then on, I was afraid to be alone at home. Update 2. After I moved in with my parents, the calls from Alex's family started. The first one was his mother, Carol. "Sweetheart," she began softly, "I know something happened between you. Alex told me. He's really worried." "He told me?" I chuckled. "And what exactly did he tell me?" "That you had a crisis after the baby was born, that you fought a lot, that you asked him to move out for a while. Of course." He made it sound like it was my idea. "Carol, he cheated on me. For 4 months. He had an affair. He spent all our money on her." Pause. "All men make mistakes sometimes," she said finally. "Especially during difficult times. But that doesn't mean you have to destroy your family." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "It wasn't a mistake, Carol. It was a deliberate double life, for months. He loves you, and he loves his son. You have to think about the child. He needs a father. The father should have thought about this earlier, when he was screwing another woman in expensive hotels." Silence. Then a cold voice. "You don't have to be so harsh. I understand you're upset, but family is sacred. For the sake of the child, you have to forgive. Forgiveness isn't about going back to the person who betrayed you. It's about letting go of anger and moving on. Think about what people will say. A divorced single mother. It's better to be divorced than to live with a liar and a cheater." She sighed. "I pray you change your mind. Alex is a good man. He just made a mistake. A good man." Update 3. Alex started bombarding me with messages. First, an apology. "I'm so sorry. I know I hurt you. I was selfish. Give me a chance to make it right. I've stopped communicating with Lily. Completely. I've deleted her from all social media. No more contact. I've made an appointment with a psychologist. I want to figure out why I did what I did." Then, manipulation. "Our son is growing up without a father. You're depriving him of a complete family. I have the right to see my child. You can't stop me. Everyone keeps telling me I have to fight for my family. And I will." Then the threats. "If you file for divorce, I'll demand 50-50 joint custody. I'll hire the best lawyers. I'll prove you're emotionally unstable after giving birth. You'll regret not giving me a second chance." I ignored all the messages, but he didn't give in. He sent flowers to my parents' house. I threw them away. He sent gifts for his son. I returned them. One day, he simply showed up at my parents' gate. My father came out and told him to leave. Alex stood in the street shouting, "I want to see my son! This is my child!" "You lost the right to call yourself a father when you decided to leave your family for your mistress," my father replied. "I didn't leave. She kicked me out. After you cheated on her for months. It was a mistake. One mistake. 4 months of lies is not a mistake. It's a choice." Alex tried to force his way into the house. His father blocked his way. "If you don't leave, I'll call the police," Dad said calmly. "You are turning her against me. We're protecting our daughter and grandson from the man who hurt them." Alex stood at the gate for another half hour, begging me to come out and talk. I looked out the window and felt nothing. No pity, no anger, just emptiness. Update 4. I went to see a family law attorney. I told him the whole story. I showed him the messages I'd copied from Alex's phone. I showed him the financial statements. She showed him a printout of the Excel file with his plans. The lawyer carefully reviewed everything. "You have a very strong case," she said. "Evidence of infidelity, embezzlement of family funds, and planning to leave the family. All of this will be taken into account when dividing property and determining child support. He's threatening to demand 50-50 joint custody. He can demand it. But given that the child is only 4 months old, that you're breastfeeding, and that he doesn't have stable housing right now, the court will likely grant you primary custody. He'll be granted visitation rights, but not equal custody. What about child support? Considering his income and the fact that you'll have primary custody, the child support will be substantial, plus he'll be obligated to compensate for the embezzled family funds. He says he'll hire the best lawyers." The lawyer chuckled. "With what money? You said he was in debt and had no savings." She was right. Alex had spent everything. He didn't have the resources for a long legal battle. "File for divorce," the lawyer said. "The sooner we start the process, the sooner you can start a new life." Update 5. I filed for divorce. A week after the consultation, I filed for divorce. Alex was served a summons at his place of work. He called as soon as he received it. "Are you serious?" he screamed into the phone. "You really filed for divorce?" "Yes. We can work this out. No need to involve the courts." "It's too late." "I love you. I want our family back." "You don't love me. You love the idea of family. You love control, but not me." "That's not true." "I have nothing left, Alex. You've already taken everything: money, trust, love, the future I imagined, everything." I hung up, and for the first time in months, I felt relief. Update 6. It's been 3 months since I learned the truth. I live with my parents. My son is growing up healthy and happy. He's already 7 months old. He's started rolling over, laughing when I play with him. The divorce is still ongoing. Alex is trying to drag it out, but the lawyer says it's just a matter of time. He's been granted supervised visitation rights once a week. He comes, sits with our son for an hour, then leaves. Sometimes he looks at me with pleading eyes, but I turn away. It's hard for me financially. Really hard. I've gone back to work at the school part-time. My mom helps with babysitting. It's barely enough money for basic needs. But I'm free. Free from lies. Free from the constant feeling that something's wrong. Free from a person who would choose anyone but me. Alex's parents are divided. Carol still writes to me, begging me for a second chance for the sake of the child. I don't answer. But his father, Robert, called unexpectedly 2 weeks ago. "I wanted to apologize," he said, "for telling you to stay married. I didn't know all the details. Carol only told me the truth now." "Thank you," I said quietly. "My son behaved disgustingly. He betrayed you and betrayed his child. It's unforgivable." "Yes. I want you to know. I will always be a grandfather to my grandson. No matter what happens between you and Alex, if you need help, financial, anything, let me know." That call made me cry. At least someone in his family saw the truth. My question for you: am I making the right choice by choosing myself and my son, even if it means raising him without a father by my side every day? Or can such people truly change? And is it worth giving him another chance for the sake of the child? I don't want to deprive my son of his father, but I don't want to teach him that love looks like betrayal, lies, and manipulation. I don't want to show him that a woman should tolerate infidelity for the sake of the family. But I also don't want him to look at me in 20 years and say, "Mom, why did you deprive me of my father? So now it's in your hands, Reddit. Tell me honestly, am I making the right choice? Or am I ruining my son's future out of pride and pain?" PPPS. Yes, I'm scared to raise a child alone. Yes, I'm struggling financially. Yes, I cry at night. But when I look at my son, I know I want to set an example of strength, not weakness. I want him to grow up respecting women, not exploiting them.